Hello everyone and welcome aboard. I'm your host Gascan, and today we're going to take a look at how to perform the Infantry Contact Patrol as part of the Black September campaign. First things first, we got to make sure that we select the Infantry Spotter. Then we're going to load up with a radio, and anything else you pick doesn't really matter, but as long as you have the radio, you should be able to accomplish this. We'll go ahead and set the fuel and skin and weapons loadout, and we should be able to move on to the next step. So let's take a look at the mission description that's provided for us. It gives you a pretty good description as to what to do. Fly out over where we think the infantry are, fire a flare, see if they respond, give them a chance, and then if they don't respond, we'll move on to the next spot. Once they finally respond, then we'll know where they're at, and we can drop some artillery in that area to clear out the enemy trenches. We'll go ahead and get our plane up and running now, and then we'll take a look at the map and make sure we know where we're going. Let's take a look at the map. The map designer has made some excellent tool tips that can help us accomplish our mission. So let's take a look where we need to go. You'll notice that it tells us to stay between 500 meters and 2,500 meters, or 1,600 feet and 8,200 feet. And fire a flare and wait for the infantry to respond. That's all we have to do. Now, for the Black September campaign, there's also some tanks that need to be guarded during this phase, and both missions must be accomplished to move on to the next phase. However, that's a campaign-specific thing and may be different for different campaigns. Right, goggles on, chocks away, throttle to full. Hooray! So at the end of the previous phase of this particular mission, the infantry went over the top, and at this point they've now encountered some heavy resistance at an enemy trench. Now our goal is to provide artillery support for them, but it's not a known location. So we're not providing correction, we're just providing a location of where the friendlies are so we don't fire on them. So we know that the friendly infantry have moved into some of the bombed out and destroyed villages in the middle of no man's land. And we need to take a look there, fire a flare, and see if they respond. See if they're in that village or not. And if they're not in the village, then we'll move on to the next one. That's basically all we're doing. Firing a flare and seeing if we can get a response. I've mentioned before the importance of locking your own gun seat, but just as a reminder, this is a public server and people may hop in the back seat and shoot off your own tail. So always make sure you lock your gun station unless there's somebody that you know who's going to be hopping in, which is what I had earlier in the day, so now I'm able to lock it and be safe. As we're entering the target area, we're looking for the small ruined towns below that might have infantry hiding inside of them. Get our flare ready to signal them. Of course, there are enemy planes in the area that we have to keep an eye out for. Any one of those could ruin our day real quick. It could be an albatross, it could be a Halberstadt. Not really sure, but either way, I'm going to try and keep my distance and hope he doesn't see me. And the message says that I've entered the infantry contact zone, but I miss it because it overruns with one of the other ones from Sector Alpha, and I'm also worried about the albatross. So I'm in the zone, but I miss it. There's a dogfight in Sector Alpha up to the north of me. And that albatross has turned around. It is now, looks like it's stalking me, so I'm very nervous at this point. At this point you can clearly see that I'm above the city, but I missed the message. And now I'm being told that I'm leaving the contact zone. Time to turn around and we'll come back and actually try and contact the infantry. Flare gun out. Albatross still there. Entered the zone, and fire the flare. Now we'll see if the infantry respond or not. And hope the Albatross doesn't notice me. We'll just orbit around here above the ruined town, see if the infantry respond with a flare of their own. If I don't see any flare from them, then we'll try a second flare just to see if they're actually there. But if I don't get any response after the second one, then they're not there, and it's time to move on to the next town. Usually you just need to wait 1, maybe 2 minutes just to make sure that they've given a chance to respond. Doesn't really matter what color flare you use. In this case, I'm going to fire my white flares because I think they're a little bit less visible from the air, so I don't think they'll attract as much unwanted attention. There's a message to fire the flare again, and there's the flare out. Now we'll see if they're actually here or if we have to move on to the next one. And there's a friendly Bristol. In this case, Katorio is bringing a Bristol in to try and take care of the enemy trench, whether I completed the infantry contact mission or not. It also served to distract the enemy from me in the area and keep me safe. So you can either accomplish the infantry contact or destroy the trench. If you complete the infantry contact, then it takes a little while before the artillery destroys the trench. Or you can bomb the trench directly and move things along quickly, but it's a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more likely to take losses that way. And there's a message saying no luck here, time to move on to the next one. You'll notice the map is updated with a new spot. We're looking for the next ruined town down in no man's land. And that looks about it. Just tweak our course a little bit, we'll be good to go. And it looks better. And now we're in the zone. Time to fire a flare. Flare out, still got one left. There it is. Wait and see if the infantry respond. Now, Katoru was flying in the area at the time to try and take on the enemy trenches, but he was having trouble at the time, couldn't find them. You can see where they are on the map, but just like mentioned in the previous video for the trench attack, just look for the machine guns. He didn't know at the time, but now that you guys have seen the video and are properly trained, you guys should be able to take it out just fine, unlike him. And there's a message that we lost the tanks in Bravo. But more importantly, the infantry spotters leaving the area. We got too far away from the town, circle back around, see if we can stay in contact with them, if that is where they're at. Then we'll fire another flare just to make sure we've got contact or not. And there's the trench firing machine guns. And there's Katori looking around trying to find the trench. And we're back in the area, time to fire a flare. We'll try the white one, and I'm out of those. So we'll try something different. Green one this time. Like I said, the flare color doesn't really matter, they'll all work. I just originally started with white because, I don't know, I guess it might be a little bit harder to see than the different colors. There's a message that the tanks have respawned. Time to try that again, see if we can cover them. And looking down to see if we can see any response flare. And there's the trench. And there's Katori looking at it, trying to determine if that's the actual trench or not. But more importantly, we've gotten a report that we have had no contact from the infantry, and it's time to move on to the next particular village. Let's see what else we got. The map has been updated, showing the next spot, and we're on our way, looking for the next ruined city in no man's land. That looks like it. There's the trenches firing away, and it looks like Katori's getting into a bit of a scrap. I'm glad that's not me. And there's a message, we've entered the zone. Double check to see where it is, and get the flare gun out. And let's see if the infantry are there or not. Now we just have to circle around and wait for a response. There's the city down below. Could be hiding some infantry. There's something up there. Not sure what it is, but let's see if we can't hurry this along. Let's fire another flare, see if we can't get this done and move on. There's the flare. And mission accomplished. Infantry flare spotted. Observer transmits results back to HQ. They are good to go. At this point, our artillery is going to take the enemy trench under fire, and it will be destroyed eventually, whether we bomb it or not. At this point, mission is accomplished for both of those. It's just going to take some time for the trench to disappear. If we want to, we can still try and bomb the trench and speed things along for trying to really push this sector, but it's not necessary. At this point, the trench will be destroyed by our artillery. Now, much like the artillery spotting, there's no credit that you can get in the parser for it, so you don't have to return home and shoot an invisible spotlight or anything. At this point, you're free to go and do whatever you want. You can go and fight enemy planes, you can go and bomb things if you're loaded with bombs, or you can return home and swap out for a different plane. Either way, at this point, you know what you're doing with the photo recon, the artillery spotting, the trench attack, and the infantry contact missions. You guys are fully trained and ready to go. Now before we go, let's take a quick look at why it's called a Bristol fighter. And there is a Halberstadt down there. Oh my God. Oh, my rudder rods are jammed. Yep, that didn't quite go according to plan. But hopefully you guys will do better than I did. Good luck out there. Gas Can, signing out.